Welcome to Everything NHL, the hockey segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and we're here with our expert, James Kumar.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on? This week we're going to, I guess, recap some games, and we'll take a look at some of the games that are happening right now. If there are some games that are finished on Friday, which is the day that we're recording, we might take a look at them. We'll talk about some general talk and the Calgary coach being fired, and then we'll preview some Saturday games, and then we'll probably look at the hockey pool when we're done.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. Let's get into it.
All right. So I guess first we'll talk about Thursday game, starting with the New York Islanders versus the Buffalo Sabres. It was a good game for the Islanders. It was 5-2, very dominant performance. Just wondering about your thoughts for the two teams.
Yeah, just looking at the New York Islanders, I guess just getting into some of the stats from this game. You got goals in the first period for the Islanders, Noah Dobson and Matt Martin also scoring there. Taylor Hall scoring for Buffalo in the second period, followed by a goal for the Islanders from Anthony Beauvillier. Then we just headed to the third period. Jordan Eberle scored for the Islanders to make it 4-1. Buffalo answered with a goal from Rasmus Ristolainen. And then the Islanders finished it off midway through the third period with a goal from Matt Martin. Final score 5-2. I believe the Islanders, they just been hot right now. They just haven't found a way to lose games. They're always in it. They're always winning. And they just continue to just move up in the East Division. I mean, now they're in first place. They're playing really solid as we speak. And I guess you said look at both teams. So just looking at Buffalo, they just can't buy a victory at this point. They're 6-12-3 now. I guess they might be the next team to fire their coach. I don't know what you think about that. They've just been on such a slump.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to be talking about Calgary a little bit, but first Montreal, they fired their coach. If the Buffalo Sabres keep losing, they might end up firing their coach too, try to shake some things up.
Yeah, ever since Buffalo came back from that whole COVID situation where they were blaming New Jersey for getting COVID from them for not following protocols and so on, Buffalo just hasn't been the same. Like I said, they've only won 2 out of their last 10. And I think, yeah, they might be the next team to get their coach fired.
Yeah, hopefully the Buffalo Sabres can kind of turn things around.
Yeah, it's going to be
I
tough for
guess
them.
moving on
Yeah.
to the next game. Yeah. So I guess now we'll look at the other New York team, the New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. Another dominant performance this game. The Rangers won 6-1. Very high scoring game. I guess what are your thoughts against I guess about these two teams?
Yeah, the Rangers just look dominant. They have been playing better as of late, and it's been quite the opposite for New Jersey. That's their fourth loss in a row. Um, and yeah, I know you're gonna get to the scores in this game, but yeah, it seemed like after the first period, with Jack Hughes scoring there for New Jersey, they just couldn't get any scoring going.
Yeah, for sure. The I guess in the first period, like we said, Jack Hughes was able to get a goal, but the rest of the game it was just all Rangers goals. Chris Kreider scored 2 times, and
Actually, three
then we
times.
had a bunch. Yeah, 3 times. He scored 3 times, and then I think Pavel scored. I think Brendan Smith scored. Lafreniere scored. So again, very dominant game from both teams. I guess I was just wondering, where do you kind of see these two teams for, I guess, the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I know we've talked about this a few times on the podcast. I've just seen that East Division being those top five teams. I know you got Boston, you got the Islanders, Washington, you got Philadelphia, and you got Pittsburgh as sort of the five teams that'll be making a run at four playoff spots there. And the Rangers and New Jersey seem to be like those middling teams there, and then Buffalo seems to be like that last place team. So I think the Rangers and the Devils will be fighting against each other for you know, maybe almost a playoff spot, but maybe not quite there.
Yeah, I see. I see. So I guess we'll go to the next game. Um, it's going to be the Detroit Red Wings versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Um, yeah, this game wasn't that close either. 5-2. The Hurricanes were very dominant. Um, I guess just wondering about your general thoughts about this game.
Yeah, I guess other than the fact that Philip Zadina had two goals for Detroit, they didn't really get much of anything from anyone else. He just looked like the only dominant player in this game for them. I mean, like it was just tough overall. I mean, they had their chances. They took 35 shots, but at the end of the day, I mean, Carolina just played better. Alex Nedeljkovic being in net for them. I know I'm going to talk about him later in our pickups, but yeah, he just had a solid game. He's had a very solid string of games over the past few weeks. So yeah, I'll let you get to the recap of this.
For sure. Like we said, Zadina was the only player on Detroit who was able to get goals. He got two goals for by himself, which is very impressive. But unfortunately, the Hurricanes they ended up having a bunch of players with goals. I think Andrei Svechnikov he had a goal. Jordan Stahl had a goal. Nichas had a goal. Jesper Fast and Niederreiter. They both had goals. Unfortunately, Detroit wasn't able to kind of stop the Hurricanes' offense. So I guess I was just wondering, I guess just on kind of the state of the Detroit's defense versus kind of the Hurricanes' offense. Is it kind of the Hurricanes are just too good, or does Detroit need to work on something?
Yeah, I think Carolina is one of those teams that can roll three solid scoring lines. They got three excellent centers, Sebastian Aho and Jordan Stahl and Vincent Trocek. And the wingers on those lines are solid as well. Guys like Svechnikov, Nate Chess. I mean, you got Tara Vinen, you got Niederreiter. I mean, there's just tons of solid players on that team. Even Jesper Fast had a goal tonight or Thursday night, sorry. And yeah, that offense is just pretty tough to stop for any team. Much less a Detroit team that they're in a rebuild. We all know this. Yeah, I think it's tough for any team to be honest.
Yeah, but I guess especially tough since Detroit doesn't have the personnel just yet to kind of keep up with the pace of Carolina.
Yeah, I think it might take another year or two to really see a competitive Detroit team. I know that Detroit fans, they got to be patient and I guess just sort of get through the bad times here for the Red Wings.
Yeah, hopefully the bad times aren't going to last too long, but I guess we'll move on to a game that's I guess a little bit closer. The Philadelphia Flyers against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Uh, it was quite a battle. The Flyers came up on top 4-3, so it was only a one game, one score difference in this game. I guess if it was in past seasons, we would have said this was a high scoring game, but this is kind of average these days.
Yeah, it really was.
But I guess just wondering about your thoughts on the state of these two teams.
Yeah, I think it's a tale of two different games in one game. Pittsburgh going up 3-0 within the first 4 minutes of the game, and then not being able to score a goal the rest of the game. Philadelphia winning the game 4-3 in a comeback victory. I mean, Chris Letang, Mark Friedman, and Jared McCann scored so quick, and it almost seemed like the game was over for for Philly, you know. And it's good they didn't give up on their goalie Brian Elliott. He had a solid game. He just had a rough first patch there, and then they just answered right back. While Philly had one goal in the first, it was Sean Couturier. Then in the second period, Claude Giroux scored. And then in the third period, Scott Lawton tied the game, and then Claude Giroux scored another one for the winner. So I mean, it, Philadelphia played the more solid. I guess it seemed like a 55-minute game that they played. The first 5 minutes was a little heavy from Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh didn't play a full 60-minute game, and that's been one of the issues with them. I mean, they can play a solid 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, but they just can't really just play a full game. And I think that's why they're sitting there in fifth. They're the odd team out right now in that East division. I think it's one of the issues that Pittsburgh needs to address. I mean, they even got Crosby back in this game. He was out on the COVID protocol, but yeah, they just really need to fix something as a team.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of, I guess just kind of like general, what's your kind of opinion on players being able to play despite the COVID protocol?
Yeah, I think it's hurt some teams. Like players have just been removed from the lineup just the day of. Like I know that happened with Crosby. That happened with just you can name a bunch of players that have just been removed the day before the game or the day of the game due to the COVID protocol. Whether it was a false positive, whether it was a close contact, whatever it might be, you know, they have to sit out the game, and I think it's tough for some teams. There's teams missing a lot of players, and yeah, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate. I guess I was just wondering if you think the Penguins can kind of catch up to the rest of the teams in the East if Crosby is able to come back.
Yeah, it looks like he should be back for good now, unless something else happens. So, yeah, like I said, any of those five teams are in it until the season's done. I feel like it's going to be a five-team race in this division.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be really close for sure. And speaking of close, we have another close game that would have been high scoring in past seasons, but it's just kind of average. The Jets versus the Canadians. The Jets went 4-3 against the Canadians. Oh, a good game for the Jets and kind of unfortunate for the Canadians. The Canadians, they're trying to, I guess, get a new coach. Like we said before, they fired their coach, and now they have an interim coach. And I was just kind of wondering about your thoughts on these two teams and if you think the coaching thing is working out for the Canadians right now.
I guess clearly not. I mean, they only have one victory since the coach has come in, and I believe they played at least 3 or 4 games since he's been the head of this coaching staff. So it hasn't looked good so far. I guess we'll just have to wait it out. And then as for the Jets, I mean, they've been one of the hotter teams there in the North Division. I believe they're in second place now, so they're playing some good hockey.
Yeah, for sure. I guess just going into the scores, the Jets they were able to score in both the first and third period, and they were able to, I guess, take the game in overtime. Uh, Statsny was able to get a goal in the first period. Matthew Perrault got a goal in the first period, and Stastny got another goal in the third period, and Dubois was able to kind of clutch it in overtime, and that's how the Jets came out on top. The Gallagher, Toffoli, and Perry they all scored kind of later in the game, both second and third period, but unfortunately they weren't able to get another goal in overtime. I guess the Jets they were just able to kind of dig deep and pull out a win. So I guess uh, just wondering if you think that there's anything Montreal can do going forward.
I guess going forward, their goal should really just to be, um, I mean, they've been aggressive. I was gonna say to be more aggressive, but they have been. They've been taking lots of shots. I guess it's just been more of the bounces just not going their way. They just, I mean, they find ways to outplay teams, but the score just doesn't go their way. I'm just very confused at some of the scores. It's not like this team's been short of effort. It seems like they're just being outmatched. I don't know what the issue is. Maybe it's like a coaching scheme. Maybe it's something. I'm not entirely sure why Montreal's been losing this many games. But I mean, they say that sometimes the bounces will go your way and sometimes they won't. So maybe the bounces will start going their way. And they did score on the power play in this game. It's not like their power play hasn't been producing. I mean, they were pretty much up on the scoreboard for most categories, whether it was face-offs, whether it was shots. I mean, anything hits. It's just like I said, the bounces didn't go your way. In overtime, the right bounce has to go your way. If there's a shot that's blocked and then you get a breakaway, the overtime's 3-on-3. Breaks go back and forth, and it looks like Dubois he had a chance and he was successful and he scored. So, um, yeah, I guess they just got to keep working hard and eventually the bounces will go Montreal's way.
Yeah, I guess for Montreal fans, hopefully, Montreal can become a top team in the North again. And I guess going to the next game, speaking of top team, uh, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Chicago Blackhawks. This is the Thursday game. Um, it's another overtime game. The Lightning were able to kind of clutch it in overtime. Um, I guess Ryan Carpenter and Alex DeBrincat, they were able to take 2 goals in the second period, and Tampa Bay had 3 goals, two in the third period, one in overtime. Sorelli and Stamkos, they were able to, I guess, take the team to overtime, and Killorn was the person who kind of closed the game out, and he was able to kind of clutch a win for Tampa Bay. Just wondering about your general thoughts on these two teams.
Yeah, I'm surprised there were two shorthanded goals in this game, one from each team, Carpenter and Sorelli getting them. Normally, when teams are on the power play, you don't expect them to give up goals, but I mean, it can happen sometimes. But yeah, just looking at the two teams, um, I applaud Chicago for this. I know we'll get to tonight's result as well. There was a rematch between these two teams, but I applaud Chicago. Um, I mean, just hanging in there with Tampa. I mean, Tampa's pretty much one of the best teams in the NHL. Chicago's a rebuilding team that's really played sort of above what we all expected at the beginning of the year. They had a lot of old veterans on their cup teams, including one that retired today, Brent Seabrook. So congrats to him on a wonderful career. But yeah, they have a lot of older players from their cup teams and then some younger players, and they're trying to find that right mix. And it seems like they've done a good job of that. And the Chicago team's playing very well. So I applaud them. And then Tampa Bay winning, they're just doing what they're doing. Even in tonight's result, we'll talk about. It's not like Tampa Bay didn't play well tonight. But yeah, Tampa Bay's just been solid over the whole season. Whether no matter what injuries they have, they've just continued to win games. Just looking at their record now, they have a record of 16-4-1 as we speak, and yeah, they've just been playing solid.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess just wondering about your opinion about the performance of these two teams so far. I guess I was also wondering about the performance of Chicago.
Yeah, in terms of their performance, I mean, they have a 12-7-5 record. I know they started off, I think they lost like their first four games or something. They've been on a tear as of late. This is a team that can't be slept on anymore. It looks like that they might actually be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, they've definitely been playing solid, and they were able to almost beat the Lightning on Thursday, and it was a very close game. So I guess we'll go to the next game, which was also very close. And this would be a high scoring game, another one.
This one was high
Um
scoring, yeah.
yeah. It was 5-4, Panthers versus Predators. The Panthers were able to beat the Predators. Um Unfortunately for the Predators, they weren't able to get another goal in the third period to kind of catch up. Panthers were looking very dominant. They scored every period. Uh, Carter Verhage got a goal. Mason Marchment got a goal, both in the first period. Jonathan Huberdeau got a goal in the second period. Ekblad got a goal in the second period and another one in the third period. And uh, the Nashville Predators, they did their best. It was very close. Matthias Ekholm and Philip Forsberg, they scored 2 goals in the second period. And Colton Sissons and Ryan Johansson scored 2 goals in the third period. So they tried to mount a comeback, but Florida, they were just able to hold on to their lead. And I guess I was just wondering about your thoughts on these two teams.
Yeah, in this division, there's been two very surprise teams from last year. The first one we talked about in the last recap was Chicago, and the second one is Florida. I mean, they just been playing out of their minds. They have a record of 14-4-4. And I mean, this team looks like they're going to be a playoff team by all accounts. They've just been playing solid. Won 6 games out of their last 10. Um, I mean, they can win both at home and on the road, no matter what the case might be. This game was on the road, and they just been playing solid. Guys like Carter Verhage been playing well, as we've been talking about. Aaron Ekblad had 2 power play goals in this game, so yeah, this Florida team looks dominant. And then I guess as for Nashville, the season has just been very disappointing for them. They did play well in this game. It's not like they played bad, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't come out with the win.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering uh, about the Predators' performance, and do you think that this is kind of just the Panthers were just really good, or the Predators kind of need to do something to kind of, I guess, catch up?
Yeah, the Predators do need to do something, but this game would be the exception. I think that Florida is just a very good team this year.
Makes sense. And I guess going on to the next game, uh, the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Dallas Stars. Unfortunately, the Stars were not able to get a win. They fell 3-2 to the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets had three, the Stars had two. Um, I guess, and they tried to kind of come back in the third, but they weren't able to. Heiskanen and Robertson both scored 2 goals in the third period, but the Blue Jackets, they scored in the second and third period. Boone Jenner, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Eric Robinson all scored goals. And I guess I'm just wondering about your thoughts on these two teams.
Yeah, like you said, it's a rough go for Dallas. They've only won 1 game out of their last 10. They've had so many games canceled. They've been on a 4 game skid as we speak, and nothing's going right for this Dallas team. I know they lost back-to-back games against defending champs Tampa Bay, a team that, as we saw in the finals even last year, they just can't beat. And then they're losing to a team that we expected them to be better than in Columbus. So yeah, Dallas just keeps sinking in this division, and I mean they might even be below Detroit now. I know that they haven't played as many games as the other teams because of COVID, but in terms of points, they are behind Detroit now. So that's not a good thing. They have the third worst points percentage in that division, so they'd be in sixth place if we were to judge by that. So I mean, even then they wouldn't be a playoff team. So Dallas really needs to turn things around.
Yeah, they've just been very unfortunate this season. I was just wondering, is the I guess their lack of fortune kind of the biggest reason for their I guess their performance, or is there anything that they can kind of do to offset what's been going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much. I mean, you look at their forward group, guys like Caro, Dowling, Camano. I know Robertson's been good, but other than that, like these new guys that have been coming in, they really haven't had much of an impact to cover for the guys either injured or having, whether it's COVID protocol or whatever. And it's just been tough for this team. And And then I think as for Columbus, hopefully that this game is sort of the start of a turnaround for this team. I know they've had a rough go at the beginning. There's a lot of drama at the beginning of the season. They've had a lot of injuries. Hopefully, yeah, this game will get things turned around for Columbus.
Yeah. And speaking of turning things around, uh, this was a very high scoring game. It was a blowout. The Flames beat the Senators 7-3. So again, very dominant performance by the Calgary Flames. On the Senators, they were beating a lot of teams and making a lot of teams look foolish, but unfortunately, I guess the spoil party is kind of over. At least that's what it looks like for now. Senators, if it was any other season, 3 goals would have been solid, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It wasn't nearly enough. The Flames just kind of burned them. I guess just wondering about your thoughts on these two teams.
Yeah, I like what you said there. The Flames kind of burned them because they definitely did. They wore their reverse retro, the fiery horse jerseys, with the horse with the flames coming out of the nostrils. Yeah, they call it Blasty. So they wore the Blasty jerseys and they actually won with them, which is pretty surprising. Yeah, just looking at some of the scoring from this game, Brett Ritchie scored for Calgary, which is surprising. He's normally like an enforcer type guy. Then Dylan Dubé scored for Calgary. Then Josh Norris answered for Ottawa in the first period. Then Sean Monahan scored for Calgary to make it 3-1. And Josh Levo scored for Calgary to make it 4-1. Then we go to the second period. Dylan Dubé has his second goal of the game. Then in the third period, he got his third goal of the game to complete the hat trick. Then you had Artem Anisimov score for Ottawa on the power play, followed by Ryan Dzingel scoring for Ottawa to make it 6-3. And then Derek Ryan scored for Calgary to make it 7-3. And then game was pretty much over at that point. Yeah, I know we'll get to Calgary's firing of their coach. It must have been a decision made before this game because I wouldn't understand them firing their coach after such a big win here against Ottawa.
Yeah, I don't really understand that either, but we'll talk about that later. I guess my question would be, do you think the Flames should wear the retro jersey every game now?
I mean, the way those goalie pads looked on David Riddick, absolutely. I mean, that jersey looks fantastic. And if they can string together some wins, I know people have always said that teams keep jerseys around longer if they tend to win in them. It's like one of those superstition type things. So, if a jersey is helping teams win, like I've been advocating for the Canucks to bring back this skate jersey because they seem to always win with it. And they haven't won much this year. Like I said, I am wearing this Canucks jersey again because, yeah, they beat Toronto after I wore it last week. So we'll get to that game next. But yeah, I mean, if you're beating a team like Toronto, I mean, I guess I got to keep wearing this jersey so that the Canucks keep winning. But yeah, yeah, those jerseys look great on Calgary. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of jerseys, the Canucks versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Canucks they haven't really been performing so well, but they were able to get the win this time. Um, they scored a goal in every period. Unfortunately for Toronto, they were only able to score in the first period. Pierre Engvall was the only player on Toronto who scored. Uh, Vertanen, he scored 2 goals, one in the first, one in the second. And Bo Horvat scored in the third to round off the game. And I guess just wondering about your opinion on the Canucks. Do you think this is indicative of a kind of them coming back in the standings, or is this just kind of just an upset?
I mean, like they've been sort of mediocre lately, 4-4-2 in their last 10. So they'll definitely have to improve on that if they want to move up in the standings. They are 10, 15, and 2. And then as for the Leafs, they've just been on a roll lately. This is just one bad game in the bunch. I don't think we need to read too much into it when it comes to the Leafs. I mean, they are 18-5-2. They have the most wins in the NHL. So like, let's just not panic for Leafs fans. And yeah, both of these teams. So hopefully I mean, the Leafs are headed in the right direction. Hopefully this is sort of the signal of maybe Vancouver possibly turning it around.
Yeah, and if they wear their retro jerseys, then anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the reverse retro aren't working, so they got to bring these back. These skate jerseys, I'm advocating for it right now. Canucks, please bring these back. If you wear these, you've been winning in the last couple years, so please bring them back. It's a request from a hockey fan here.
You heard it here first. If you want Vancouver to win, make sure you get those skate jerseys.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I guess we'll go over some of the games today that just finished. Today is Friday at the time of this recording. Um, we have the Washington Capitals versus the Boston Bruins, and very dominant performance by the Bruins as expected of all Boston fans. Uh, I guess they scored every period. Three goals in the second period, one in the first, one in the third. Unfortunately, the Capitals only scored a goal in the third period. Um, Marchand scored a goal in the first, and he scored a goal in the second. Um, Bergeron and Frederich both scored in the second, and Nick Ritchie was able to kind of round off the game with a goal in the third. Unfortunately, Jakub Vrana was the only player in Washington who was able to score a goal this game in the third period. And I guess just wondering about your thoughts on these two teams.
Yeah, I think it's just been one bad game for the Capitals. They have been on sort of a roll as of late. So I mean, they've won what, 7 out of their last 10 heading into this game. So I'm not concerned about Washington. This is sort of a redemption game for Boston, who really hadn't been playing well as of late. Only 5 wins out of their last 10. So they really needed this game. They are 6-1-1 at home. So being at home for this game, I really expected them to come out on top, and yeah, they came out in dominant fashion.
Yeah, and both teams are very close to each other in terms of record. Um, Washington is 13-6-4. The Bruins are 13-5-3. So I guess I was just wondering about your thoughts on their placements in the standings.
Yeah, I mean they're second and third. I know the Islanders have been hot; they passed them, but yeah, they're all those teams are right where they should be. Like I said, those top five teams, they could make the playoffs in any order. If I'm being honest, one could be in first, one could be in fifth. Anyone could either make it or miss it. That's how tough that division is. They're in the East.
Yeah, they're definitely looking like one of the strongest divisions in the league right now.
Mhm.
And I guess the next Friday game we're going to be looking at is the Tampa Bay Lightning versus Chicago Blackhawks again. Another very close game. This time, the Chicago Blackhawks were able to take it. Um, it looks like they were able to score a goal in overtime to clutch the game out.
It
The
looks like
Lightning,
shootout actually.
oh yeah, shootout.
Just checking here. Yeah, it actually looks like
Yeah,
shootout. They were the only team that scored a goal on shootout.
yeah, it was that close. It went all the way down to shootout, and they were able to score. So very, very clutch game. The Lightning were able to score two goals in the first and one in the third, and Chicago, they scored one goal every period, and yeah, it came down to a shootout. We have some goals from Anthony Cirelli, Alex Killorn, Ryan McDonough in the first and third period for Tampa Bay. And the Brinket scored 2 goals, one in the first, one in the second, and Dominic Kubalik scored in the third. And I guess Kurashev was able to get a goal during shootout to kind of clutch it for the Chicago Blackhawks. So I guess just wondering about your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I guess this was the battle of the backup goalies as both starters had played last game. Malcolm Subban for Chicago played really well in this game. He stopped 39 out of 42 shots in this game, so really solid. Tampa Bay had a lot of pressure in this game, so he played really well. And I guess just overall, this was sort of redemption from the Thursday game where Chicago didn't come out on top. So I think tonight was sort of that night for them where they needed to beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the Blackhawks are coming up in the standings now. I think as of uh, this game, they're 13-7-5. So just wondering about your thoughts on their, I guess, projection as a team.
Yeah, like I said, we can't sleep on them anymore. They're definitely looking like they're gonna be a playoff team this year.
That's for sure. They're finally on the map.
Hmm.
And I guess the next, I guess, Friday game that we're gonna go over is the St. Louis Blues versus the LA Kings. Another close game. The Blues were able to take it 3-2. Um, they clutched it out in overtime. Um, I guess David Perron was able to get a goal in the first, and he was able to get a goal in the third. And Mike Hoffman was able to get a goal in overtime to clutch it out for the St. Louis Blues. The LA Kings, they scored in the second and third period. Uh, Jeff Carter and Dustin Brown, those were the two players who got goals. And I guess, what are your thoughts on these two teams?
Yeah, this game was going to be close as I expected. Yeah, both teams, they seem to be just, I guess, middle of the pack there in the West Division. St. Louis, I mean, they've been sort of mediocre as of late. Same with the Kings. So either of these two teams could have walked out with the victory, and St. Louis really, I guess, put their foot on the gas there late in the game and won this for sure.
Yeah, and I guess just wondering about your thoughts on the LA Kings. They are kind of at the bottom in their division. Just what are your thoughts on what they need to do going forward?
Yeah, I know it's been a tough go for them. They're yeah, like you said, they are pretty close to the bottom. I mean, they have won 6 out of their last 10, so it's not like they've been playing bad recently. It's just they just didn't have a good start. That was one of their main issues. So I guess if they can keep winning 6 out of every 10, it will get them closer to the playoffs. I mean, that naturally does that if you're winning more games than you're losing. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to kind of catch up or do the best they can. 9, 8, and 5 is kind of tough to come back from, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see with them.
Believe there are still 3 games going on. Um, the Anaheim Ducks are still facing the Colorado Avalanche. It's currently in overtime right now. Minnesota is currently destroying the Arizona Coyotes. It's 5-1 right now. They just scored another goal with only 1 minute left. Um, and I guess the Vegas Golden Knights are destroying the San Jose Sharks. It's in the still the second period. The third hasn't even started, and they're already up 3-0. And I think, those are the games.
Yeah, that's currently
So
what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, so I guess we'll talk about some pickups now. And I guess we'll start with forwards. Who are some forwards that you think people should take a look at?
Yeah, I know I mentioned him last week, but yeah, Trevor Zagras, especially for keeper dynasty leagues or maybe like really deep leagues, and you're looking for a player with a lot of upside. Trevor Zagras, we've been talking about him since the beginning of the season, since the World Juniors. He's definitely a guy that I like. I know he only has 1 point on the season so far in his first like 4 games or so. But yeah, he's definitely someone to take a look at. I mean, he's been putting shots on the goal. He's averaged about 2 or 3 shots per game since he was called up. And his plus minus, I mean, it's around even, so it won't hurt you at all. And like I said, if you're in a deep league or a keeper league, he's one of those guys that you really need to target for sure. And then just looking at another player, also from Anaheim, Maxime Comtois. He plays both wing positions. He's around 30% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's been added around 12% in the last week. So add this guy up. He's been really hot as of late. I'd say in his last 6 or 7 games, he's had pretty much a point per game. On a team like Anaheim that's not very good, he's been in the plus. He's like a +4 in those games. And he's had what around like 3 or 4 shots per game. He's had about 2 hits per game. This guy is hitting on almost every category. He's even getting power play points as well. And he's getting the ice time too. He's getting over 16 minutes around per game. So he's definitely someone that needs to be added in standard leagues, deep leagues. He should already be owned. Comtois is definitely someone to take a look at as he can play, like I said, both left and right wing. And I guess another guy that can play both wing spots is Alex Tuck for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's also been added over 12% in the last week. He's around just over 30% rostered as well. He's just been on a tear as of late. I know we talked about him scoring that beautiful goal there in the outdoor game at Lake Tahoe. Ever since that game, he's had 5 goals since that game. So just take that in all the games he's played since then, he's had 5 goals total. He's been in the plus. He takes about 3 shots per game. He'll throw a hit here and there. I mean, this guy's solid overall. And it looks like he's getting the ice time. I know they've been shuffling him between the top 2 lines, so they want him to play top end minutes for Vegas. So Vegas is a solid team, as we know. So if he's there in standard leagues, pick him up. Deep leagues, he should already be owned, but if he's not, pick him up as well. He's definitely going to contribute for you in most categories in fantasy. And now back to you for your forwards.
Those are some pretty solid forwards. And I've got a couple of guys that I think people should look at. First one, I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Carter Verhage. I don't know why he's not 50% owned yet. His ownership's going down for some reason.
I don't know
Um,
why.
I don't understand why he's getting over nine. He got over 19 minutes in the Florida game versus Nashville. He was one of the players who scored a goal, and he had 3 shots that game. So I don't really understand. He's had only 2 games where he would average under 15 minutes a game, so he gets plenty of ice time. He's ranked 124. He's gotten 8 goals, 8 assists, 52 shots, and he's +7 for the season right now. And he has eligibility for 2 positions, center and left wing. So there's really no reason not to
No
add him
reason.
if you see
No
him on the
reason.
waiver. If even like shallow leagues, you could pick him up and you can get some decent performance from him. And if you're in a deep league, you should definitely be picking him up if you see him on the waiver, especially if you need another center or especially if you need another left wing. He's definitely gonna put in some work for you. And I guess another left wing that I think you should take a look at, Zach Sanford. He's 11% rostered right now, plus 10% for the last day. He's gotten 7 goals, 3 assists, and 42 shots. He is -3, but I believe that his overall performance should be able to elevate your team. And if you have some players like Carter Verhage, because please add him, the plus minus should be able to offset it. And he's, I guess, a deep league pick that you should definitely take a look at. I think you should actually add him in deep leagues. And I guess my last forward would be Martin Nietzsche's. He's 32% rostered right now, plus 13% for the last day. He's ranked 79. He's had 4 goals, 13 assists. He's plus 10, and he's had 44 shots on goal. So very solid. He gets double digits in ice time. So he's on the ice almost all the time. And in his last game against Detroit, he had 1 goal, 1 assist. He was plus 1. He had 3 shots on goal, and he had 1 hit. So he can fill pretty much any category for you. And he's eligible as both a center and a right wing. So he's a very versatile player, and he can uh, be very productive if you add him on your team. So those are the forwards that we have for you. And I guess we'll move on to defense. What are some defensemen that you think people should take a look at?
Yeah, just looking at some defense. I'm gonna talk about Radko Gudas again. I've been talking about him pretty much every week recently. He's around 35% rostered. He's been added 3% this week. He needs to be added more than that. He needs to be owned in 50% of leagues. The amount of hits this guy generates, I can't stress enough. Like I said, in this season, he's had games of 10 hits. So, I mean, and he's averaging like what, like 5 hits at least per game. He's had a game here recently of 8 hits. This guy's taking shots too. He's averaging like 2 shots a game from defensemen. You don't normally get that. He's always in the plus. I think for the season he's plus 10. So I mean that's just solid stuff. I mean he's not going to really contribute for you point wise, but he's more of a specialist guy. I mean if you're losing in hits, you're losing in shots, you're losing in plus minus. This guy's a must add. I can't stress that enough. And then I think another hit specialist would be Nikita Zadorov. He's about 25% owned in Yahoo leagues. I mean, this guy just continues to average like what 5 hits a game. This guy's taking shots too. He's averaging about 2 shots a game. His plus and minus is about, I guess, a little over even. So he's I believe on the season, yeah, he's around +3 on the year. So he's not going to hurt you in plus minus. He'll be a pretty good benefit there. And then points wise, he doesn't really do as much for you. So these are more two of specialist defensemen. You're getting shots, you're getting hits, you're getting a good plus minus. So if you're really struggling in those specialty categories, these are guys to really look for on the waiver.
Those are some pretty solid picks. And I guess I got 2 guys that I think people should take a look on for sure. Matthias Elkom is my first defenseman. He's 29% rostered so far, plus 11% for the last day. He was injured, but since he's been back, he's had over 20 minutes every game. So that's a lot of time to be on the ice. Um, so far for the season, he's had 4 goals, 5 assists. He's plus 6, and he has 44 shots on goal. And in his last game against the Florida Panthers, he got 1 goal, 1 assist. He was plus 3, and he had 4 shots on goal. And in the Carolina game, he had, I guess, one in every category and 6 shots. So he's a defenseman he's a very, I guess, versatile defenseman. He can get I guess, category coverage for pretty much any category that you need him to. So if you see him on the waiver, if you're in a deep league, possibly a shallow league as well, and you
Yeah,
need
shallow
someone who
leagues
can,
for sure. He's definitely
yeah,
someone to own. Yeah.
yeah, if you need someone to cover all the bases, he can definitely do that for you. And my next defenseman is Nick Leddy for the New York Islanders. He's 44% rostered, plus 23% last day. He's rank 174 right now. He has 1 goal, 14 assists. He's -2 with 34 shots on goal. A lot of people have been picking him up lately. He is a very valuable player, so especially if you need someone who can get assists for you, he's really good at getting those. And if you need a lot of shots on goal, he can get those for you too. He is -2, but I think his plus minus should go up because the New York Islanders are kind of on, I guess, like a hot streak at the moment. So the plus minus shouldn't be too bad. And if you see him in a shallow league, you should definitely take a look at him. So those are the defensemen that we have for you. And I guess let's go to goalies. What are some goalies that you think people should take a look at?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier Alex Nedeljkovic, and yeah, just looking sort of at his stats, he's been on a pretty hot streak as of late. He got a win against Detroit, he got a win against Florida, and then he got a shutout win against Tampa Bay. His only loss came also against Tampa Bay. He only allowed 2 goals in that game. So in his last few games, I mean, he's only allowed like what, 2 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, and no goals. So I mean, really solid. He's got a goals against average of under 2 in those recent games. Save percentage of well, around 940s, but just been so solid. Um, yeah, and he's just definitely someone that you need to pick up. He's been getting just as much playing time as James Reimer has been getting in Carolina. His season rank is 77, and he's under 15% owned. So definitely someone to take a look at. And then also for goalies, Alex Georgiev for the New York Rangers, around 25% rostered. He's just been also very solid. Uh, he only allowed, well, he didn't allow any goals against New Jersey. He was replaced, whether there was an injury or what happened. He was replaced, or maybe he came in as replacement. I'm not sure. And then against Boston, he only allowed 2 goals. Both games that he played against Boston only allowed 2 goals. Last time he played Philadelphia, getting wins in 2 out of 3 of those games as well. So the wins seem to be there. The save percentage is there. The goals against average is there. So if you're looking for a guy maybe in a deep league, or maybe you're just not getting stuff out of your current goalies, maybe he's someone you should take a look at for sure.
Those are some pretty solid picks. And I guess I got two goalies as well that I think people should pick up. First one is Thatcher Demko for the Vancouver Canucks. He's 48% rostered. So if you see him on the waiver, you should definitely pick him up before he's gone. He's rank 193 right now, but he has 6 wins so far and a 91% save percentage. And his last win was against Toronto, which is very impressive. There is another Toronto game, so I don't know if he's gonna get a win or not. But his schedule is the rest of his games are all teams that potentially he would be able to get a win on them, and his save percentage is very decent as well. So you should definitely take a look at him. And the next goalie that I think people should pick up is Ilya Sorokin for the New York Islanders. He's ranked 84 right now, and he's had 3 wins, and he has a 90.9% save percentage. So very decent. And I guess the New York Islanders have been on a hot streak so far, and the games where Sorokin was playing, they've been wins so far. So and he's had 2 shutouts as well in 2 of those 3 games that he had a win. So he's a very solid player. If you see him on the waiver, you should definitely pick him up.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, those are the pickups that we have for this week. So I guess we can move on to I guess, talking about the Calgary coach. Um, yeah, Jeff Ward was fired. It was just released on NHL.com. He was fired by the Calgary Flames, and Daryl Sutter is going to be taking the reins. So I guess I was just wondering about your general thoughts on the Calgary Flames firing Jeff Ward. It didn't seem like he was doing a bad job, especially considering they did win 7-3 against the Ottawa Senators, and the Ottawa Senators were on a hot streak and beating teams that people thought they shouldn't be beating. So, yeah, just wondering about your general thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I think Calgary's been a playoff team for what, like the past 3 years, and then they just had a very mediocre start. So I think this firing must have been coming well before that win against Ottawa, because I know that they wouldn't necessarily fire a coach after a win. It was most likely when they announced it. And then I guess just looking at the hiring of Daryl Sutter, Sutter was the coach for Calgary between 2002 and 2006. I know in 2004 he took them to the Stanley Cup final. And then he was their GM from 2003 to 2010. Then when he was fired, he went to the LA Kings, and he won two Stanley Cups with the Kings as their head coach in 2012 and 2014. So, I mean, he has had success, whether it was in Calgary taking them to the finals or with LA winning two Stanley Cups. So, I mean, it seems like a good coaching hire. I know that them having the same coach they had years ago sometimes can be problematic, but I think for this time, it definitely seems like maybe they got the right coach, and maybe Sutter will be the coach to sort of get them over the top, where they've been sort of mingling in mediocrity most of the season.
Yeah, I guess sometimes there's coaches that they're good at developing players and they know how to kind of bring teams to a certain level. But when it comes to kind of moving past, for example, the playoffs and then going into Stanley Cup finals, winning a Stanley Cup, there's some coaches that are better at that. And it kind of looks like Daryl Sutter is very successful as a coach. So I guess they have more faith in, I guess, Sutter being able to get Calgary another cup instead of trying to wait things out with Jeff Ward.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with Jeff Ward, he was more of an interim coach, I feel like, because the whole thing happened with Bill Peters last year with the allegations that came out against him where they had to fire him. I can't remember whether it was over something racial or sexual or something. The allegations came out against him. They had to release him. And then Jeff Ward sort of came in. We thought it was an interim basis, but then he ended up staying on as the coach even into this season. But I guess with Daryl Sutter, they found their guy that they're confident in. So I feel like that if Calgary doesn't move up after this coaching move, then I think the managers will be the next to leave, because I think that they should be winning with this team and with a coach like Daryl Sutter.
Yeah, like you said, the Calgary Flames are a playoff team, and Daryl Sutter is a coach who's had multiple Stanley Cup wins. So hopefully, the Calgary Flames will be able to make a deep playoff run. And I guess I was wondering about where do you see kind of Jeff Ward in the league? Are there any teams that you think should kind of take a look at him?
I think that maybe not right away. Maybe not this season. Maybe next season or the year after, a team might hire him. I know he's not as well respected as a guy like Daryl Sutter is. For he hasn't had as much success in the league as Sutter has. So yeah, he might not be like right on the coaching radar for every team, but do I expect him to be back in the league in some form? Yeah, maybe as an assistant coach, or maybe another team will take a flyer on him as a head coach.
Sounds good. I mean, he is pretty decent as a coach. I guess it's just that the Calgary Flames they're trying to make a playoff push, and they've I guess like you said, it looks like Jeff Ward was just an interim coach, but for an extended period of time. But hopefully, Jeff Ward will be able to, I guess, find a team that he kind of fits in, and he'll be able to kind of bring another team to, I guess, playoff status.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess that's pretty much it for talking about the Calgary coaching situation. And I guess we'll just go into some more general stuff. What are your thoughts on I guess, the current landscape of the NHL right now?
Yeah, I guess talking about Calgary, we can just look at the North Division. Toronto's still been hot. They've won 7 out of their last 10, and then they're followed in that division by Winnipeg, who've also won 7 out of their last 10. The Oilers have slipped a bit. They've just lost their last three straight to Toronto. So they'll probably be looking to bounce back after that. And then you got Montreal and Calgary just hovering in there around fourth and fifth. I mean, Vancouver's getting close in sixth. They're only 4 points behind Montreal for that fourth spot. Then you got Ottawa there in last with only 17 points. So, we can kind of see sort of the tier of teams. I guess the Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton is sort of a tier as of right now. Then you got Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, and sort of that secondary tier. And then you got Ottawa there at the bottom. But yeah, that's sort of how I see the North Division.
How about I guess the East Division we've been talking about at all podcasts, so we don't really have to spend too much time on them. So we'll go straight to, I guess, the West Division. What are your thoughts on the West?
Yeah, Vegas really looks like the top team here. They've won 4 games in a row. They've won 7 out of their last 10 as we speak. Just some solid stuff. You said they were leading in the Friday game, so they'll probably win that as well. So that'll be 5 wins in a row for them. So Vegas is just pushing through. They're the sort of powerhouse here in this division. And then you got St. Louis, followed by Colorado, who seem to be the other two more dominant teams in this division. Minnesota seems to be playing pretty well. They've won 6 out of their last 10. They have been playing pretty solid. Then you got sort of Arizona and LA sort of in that mediocre sort of area. And then you got San Jose and Anaheim near the bottom. Yeah, so that's sort of the landscape there in the West. I think that between Vegas and Minnesota, those should be the playoff teams, unless we see a team like maybe Arizona or LA get hot, and then they might have a chance of getting in.
It looks like the West is probably the division where you might see kind of an unexpected, I guess, playoff entrance, possibly from the LA Kings or Arizona. They are, I guess, 7 points behind St. Louis. So it's not going to be easy, but it looks like it's kind of doable.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally see that.
And I guess moving on to the Central Division, what are your general thoughts on the landscape of the Central Division?
I think the top 4 teams right now have really separated themselves from the bottom four. Just looking at points wise, you got Tampa Bay at 34 points as we speak, Carolina 33, Florida 32, Chicago 31, and then you got a huge drop down to Columbus at 25. So it's really looking like those top four are going to be the playoff teams in this division. I mean, a team like Columbus or Dallas could always turn it around. I can always see that, especially if Dallas does get a chance to play all of their remaining games. They have a lot of games remaining. They almost have, I think they have like 38 games remaining or something. So they have a lot compared to other teams. If they definitely get to play those games, they might have a chance to catch up. But other than that, those top 4 teams seem to be really the more dominant teams in this division.
Yeah, the Central Division is very similar to the East, it looks like, in terms of just how top heavy the teams look. Um, Unfortunately, if you're at the bottom of the division, it looks like it's going to be a bit too late to kind of catch up. It's going to be a tall order for sure.
Hmm.
Um, Columbus looks like they have the best chance to kind of catch up because Columbus and Chicago. I think Columbus is, I think, 6 games behind Chicago, and they're, I guess, 11 games or not even 9 games behind Tampa Bay, which is the first place team. So, do you think either Chicago or Columbus would be able to catch up and go to the playoffs?
I think you mean 9 points, and yeah, it
Yeah.
is possible. Like I said, there's still a lot of games left. Every team's got like maybe at least 30 games to go, so definitely time to do it. Whether the teams can do it, we'll have to see. But those top 4 teams seem to be playing very well.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to kind of catch up.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess we'll move on and we'll kind of look at some Saturday games. First one we'll take a look at is the New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. Who do you think is going to take this game?
Um, I could see this game going both ways, but maybe New Jersey might take it just because of how bad they were beaten by the Rangers in the first game on Thursday. They lost 6-1, so I kind of like New Jersey, especially them being at home, for them to take this game. But honestly, this game could go either way, in my opinion.
Sounds good. And the Buffalo Sabres are facing the New York Islanders again. Do you think the Sabres will be able to get a revenge game against the New York Islanders?
I mean, it's possible, but I guess just the way the Islanders have been playing, I just really don't expect a win for Buffalo. I mean, both two teams have just been on the opposite ends of the spectrum, so I really just see it going the same way.
Sounds good. And well, I mean, not good for the Buffalo Sabres, but and I guess we'll move on to the Flyers versus Penguins, another potential revenge game for Pittsburgh. Um, I guess just looking at some stats, Crosby has had 19.7 goals and 12 assists so far, and Rhymes has had 26 points, 10 goals, and 16 assists. So I guess if those two are both in, do you do you think it's going to be a high scoring game or a low scoring game?
I think maybe you might go on the end of a higher scoring game for this one. Pittsburgh definitely, after blowing that 3 goal lead, they're going to be out to win this game. I think I can expect Pittsburgh to win this. They also have favorable odds. So if you like to maybe wager on Pittsburgh in this game, they're definitely a great choice. I feel like Pittsburgh can definitely come out and win this sort of rematch. They really just didn't play well for most of that game against the Flyers. I think they'll play better.
Yeah, and speaking of, I guess, another chance to kind of play better, we have the Florida Panthers versus the Nashville Predators again. The Predators, they tried to, I guess, mount a comeback against the Florida Panthers, but the lead was just too much. Um, do you see another game where the Panthers will just be able to hold on to their lead for the entire game, or will the Predators be able to kind of come back?
I think this game could go either way. It'll definitely be probably a bit lower scoring than that first one. I know Florida and Nashville don't normally score that much. Um, but yeah, I mean it's hard not to take Florida. Although this game could go either way, Florida's just been playing out of their minds as of late. They just really logically seem like the better team to take in this game.
Makes sense. And we have another rematch. The Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Vancouver Canucks. Um, Mitch Marner has had what 34 points, and Austin Matthews has had 18 goals. So do you see them taking, I guess, a game against the Canucks this time?
Yeah, I definitely see it. I think Frederick Anderson's going to be back in net for the Leafs. Yeah, I just don't see how the Leafs lose this. This is definitely a bounce back game for them against the Canucks. I know we talked about me wearing this Canucks jersey and them beating the Leafs, but I mean, if somehow Vancouver wins this game, I think you might see this jersey for the people watching the podcast. You might see this on next week's podcast again.
If you see the Vancouver Canucks roll up on the ice with the skater jerseys, are you going to be worried?
I actually think I might be worried. I mean, unless the Leafs are wearing their St. Pat's jerseys, because I mean, it is March now. So I definitely want to see them roll those white and green Pats jerseys. Those look amazing. If the Leafs are wearing those, I know they've won a lot of games with those. So that might be sort of what they need to combat the skate jerseys.
The skate jersey Canucks versus the Pats jersey Leafs.
Yeah, let's go. Let's see it.
And I guess we'll move on to Minnesota Wild versus the Arizona Coyotes. Um, what are your thoughts on these two teams?
I know they haven't updated the odds sort of for this game, but we saw what happened tonight. A pretty big blowout, a 5-1 win for Minnesota against Arizona. I think Arizona definitely comes out sort of with revenge in this game. This game's going to be a lot closer. It can go either way, but Arizona might have some sneaky value in this game, being the home team and sort of wanting a comeback in this game. So I think maybe Arizona has a chance to take this game.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to kind of get revenge on Minnesota for getting blown out.
Hmm.
And I guess we'll move on to the Jets versus the Canadians. The Canadians really need a win. So, do you believe that they'll be able to, I guess, finally get a win?
I've believed in Montreal too many times and they've burned me. So I'm gonna say the Jets are gonna win this, and then somehow Montreal is gonna pull this game out. But yeah, how can you not side with the Jets? They've won 7 out of their last 10. They're looking at like an amazing team. Let me just say, as long as starting goalie Connor Hellebuck starts in this game, then the Jets should pull it out. But I mean, with me taking the Jets now, of course, Montreal is just gonna come and win. But and we'll see about that.
Well, I mean, the Jets have been on fire lately. So, we're going to see some high level play from them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely expect that.
And I guess the next game that we have is the Anaheim Ducks versus the Colorado Avalanche. I believe that um, they did go to overtime, so it was really close. And do you think that it's going to be another close game, or is either team going to be able to kind of pull away?
I think Colorado got a big scare in Friday's game, almost losing that. They did pull it out in overtime. I think Colorado should have a more convincing win in this game. That's what I expect. Colorado being the home team and all, and Anaheim just hasn't been playing well. So I see Colorado winning this game, and I see them winning it more convincingly than they did in Friday's game.
Yeah, I mean the Ducks really did play well on Friday, but I think the Avalanche are just a stronger team overall, so we should expect kind of a more dominant performance from Colorado, I guess.
Yeah, they haven't really looked as dominant this season. We'll just definitely have to see how well they continue to play over the stretch. They should be getting better as the season goes along.
And moving on to another rematch, the Columbus Blue Jackets are facing the Dallas Stars again. Do you think the Stars will be able to turn things around and beat the Blue Jackets, or are they going to, I guess, lose again?
I mean, the books are favoring Dallas here. They've been favoring Dallas for a while. They just expect them to turn things around. I think maybe this is the game they do it just because they were close last game. They just couldn't get it done. Um, I believe that they did have that comeback in the third period, but like you said, it fell short. They just weren't able to get that tying goal. So I think maybe Dallas does come up on top in this one. I think it might be close. All their games have been close. So whoever wins this game definitely will probably win it close. I don't think this will be a blowout of any kind.
Yeah, the Dallas Stars have been able to kind of keep things competitive. So hopefully they'll be able to do more than keep things competitive and get a win.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess going on to the next game, we have the St. Louis Blues versus the Kings. The Blues are higher in their division than the Kings. The Kings are lower in the division. So, do you think the Kings will be able to make an upset?
Well, they need to. I think that they had a chance to do that in this game. So I'm really liking the Kings for sort of a bounce back game here. They came close, losing in overtime to St. Louis. So I think this is the Kings game to sort of, I guess, make things right between these two teams. I know St. Louis seems to be playing better a bit as of late, but I think LA can definitely get back on track with this game.
Hopefully they'll be able to kind of fight hard and beat the Blues.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of fighting hard, we have the Battle of Alberta Part 3,
Yes,
the
sir.
Calgary Flames versus the Edmonton Oilers. And Connor McDavid, he's had 40 points so far, with 14 goals and 26 assists. He's looking like Wayne Gretzky 2.0. So, do you think that he'll be able to pull a great one on the Calgary Flames?
Well, remember what happened the last time these two teams played. McDavid had a natural hat trick. The Oilers won 7-1. So, and right now I think the Oilers are definitely going to be looking to score some goals. They only scored one goal in a combined 3 games against the Leafs this past week. So they've just been on the wrong end of a losing string. They really need to turn things around. I feel like Calgary, they just fired their coach. Their new coach doesn't come until Monday. I feel like that this is a good game for the Oilers to sort of get the win here. I think the odds makers are saying the same thing. The Oilers just seem like the logical team to come out firing in this game. So definitely, I want to look at the Oilers winning this game.
Yeah, if any time is the time to kind of have a dominant performance, now is the time.
Yep.
And speaking of dominant performance, we have the Golden Knights against the San Jose Sharks. Golden Knights have been the best team, arguably, in the West. Unfortunately, the Sharks can't really say the same. They are in, I guess, a lower spot in their division. Um, I guess can we expect another dominant performance from Vegas?
As we speak, Vegas is leading the game at the end of the second period, but it is a close game. It's a 1 goal game. So I guess just hinging on tonight's game, I'd expect the other team to sort of bounce back in the Saturday game. So I think whoever wins that Friday game, you just go ahead and just hammer the other side in the Saturday game. I think that other team will just be looking to bounce back and try and get a victory.
So I guess hopefully San Jose will be able to kind of keep things close. And it's going to be tough considering it's Vegas, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
And that's the preview for this week. And I guess before we wrap things up, I guess we can take a look at the pool and I guess what's going on so far for that.
Yeah, just looking at the hockey pool, I do have a 20-point lead over the next place team. It's looking like that I mean, we talk about this every week. If I have to be the one getting interviewed, we definitely got to plan something special. Maybe I'll do like a team analysis, or maybe do some Stanley Cup picks. We haven't decided yet, but it really seems like I'm gonna be the one getting interviewed by Nate here. And yeah, I guess everyone needs to try and catch up, but almost 50% of the season is done, so we'll have to see.
I guess by the end of the season, we could probably, uh, well, I guess we could probably do like a first place, second place, third place kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see what we want to do here. But yeah, if it ends up being me getting interviewed, we'll definitely make it special for you guys, as we always do.
Yeah. And I guess you can tune in next week for on some more recaps of some games, and we'll also have some more pickups and some general news about the NHL next week. And this wraps up the segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Hockey Podcast, Everything NHL.